Okay, so on our first page, what we're looking at at the start of this is just domain and range, x and y intercepts, continuous, whether it's a function. So let's jump right in to graph number 1. This is a linear equation. So for all linear equations, your domain is going to be from positive to negative infinity. Your x-intercept is where this graph crosses the x-axis, which is an ordered pair of over -2 up 0. Your range for this graph, again, it continues up and it continues down forever. So anything can come out of this function from positive to negative infinity. And of course, yes, it is a function because it passes that vertical line test. Let's look at number 2. My domain, as this graph opens wider and wider and wider, I'm going to include all of my x's in both a negative and a positive direction, so anything can go in. But let's talk about what's coming out. No part of my graph goes below this dotted line. So my range values, nothing is going to be lower than -4, but all of these output values are possible up to infinity. My y-intercept happens to be right here at my vertex, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when 0 comes in, -4 comes out. And is it continuous? Yes, it is, because I can trace the whole graph with my pen. All right, so you take a look at 3 and 4 and come back and check the video for your answers. All right, check your answers. How did you do? Our domain is all these possible x values, but notice there's no x's on this side of this dotted line. So everything from -4 on up is an option. My range, no part of the graph is down below here, so everything that can come out is going to be from 0 on up. Our x-intercept, of course, it's a function. Here, again, our domain, all these positive and negative x's could go in, and then our y-intercept is going to be over 0 up 4. Is it a function? Is it continuous? All right, we're going to do the same thing with these two functions. Pause the video, you fill out the answers, and then come back and check. All right, some of these can be tricky. Let's talk about it. So what can go into this function? When I look at all my negative x's, all the way down to negative infinity is a possibility. But once I get over here to 1, see this hole? That means that 1 cannot go in. So I went all the way up to 1 without including it, and then just after 1 and on to infinity. My y-intercept, my range, and I want you to look at this carefully. Anything can come out of this function. So even though I have this hole here, that value is still covered here. So anything from positive all the way down to negative infinity, and remember we write it in terms of least to greatest in interval notation. And no, this is not continuous because of that hole. So this is a fun one. Let's look carefully at this. My domain, I'm not including -6. That's why the hole is open and this is curved. But from everything from an input value of -6 all the way up to an input value of 0, and that 0 is included, so I boxed it. And that's the union of, now notice here 1 is not included, so it has a curve, but it continues on to infinity. My y-intercept is up here, and that's an ordered pair. So we don't box it, that's an xy ordered pair. My range is everything, see this arrow here? That means that it continues to go on down, 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 down. So guess what? It could go as low as negative infinity, but this graph is never going higher than 4. But of course it includes 4. And is it a function? It is. Because even though it's a silly looking one, it never has the same output twice. All right, good job.